Hey, what's going on, Ram fans? Gonna get off the draft and the undrafted free agents for one episode here. Gonna talk about some other news and notes, other things going on with our Los Angeles Rams. And it is episode 729 on the podcast, and I'm going to talk about a player who wore number 29. And before I start, gotten some pushback on the YouTube channel now and again about, hey, why didn't I talk about this guy? Why didn't I talk about that guy? And in some cases, I have talked about these players 100, perhaps 200, even maybe 300 episodes ago. I kind of try to keep track of that. And also, I don't necessarily talk about, the premier players. I mean, I will eventually get to, man, if I do this long enough, I'll get to every Ram, but probably not going to happen. I like to talk about the guys that maybe we've forgotten about. And in this case, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm not going to talk about Eric Dickerson. And yeah, one of the greatest Rams ever. I get it. Maybe I should just dedicate a whole show to him. Maybe I'll do that episode 829 if it's in the doldrums of the NFL season. But this episode, I'm going to talk about a guy that if I knew about him, I had completely forgotten about him. And that is flanker Tommy McDonald. And he came out of Oklahoma, drafted in the third round by the Philadelphia Eagles, spent 7 years with the Eagles, 1 year with the Cowboys, and then came over to the Rams, 2 years with the Rams, played in the Pro Bowl both years, and then moved on to Atlanta and Cleveland. And with the Rams, those 2 years, 122 catches for 1,750 yards and 11 TDs. So he was a real deal, a real good player. Finished his career with over 8,000 receiving yards and 84 TDs. So I don't think I ever was aware of this guy. And like I say, if I was, I must have forgotten about him. But a very, very good player back in the mid 60s. So I will get to Eric Dickerson eventually. Sorry, Eric. And hey, I just wanted to talk real quickly about Matt LaFleur on Cooper Kupp, admitting that he did not think the Rams should draft him. He thought it was a mistake, was not excited. He thought the Rams needed a speed receiver at that time, but they went ahead and drafted Kupp, and LaFleur coming clean on the fact that, hey, you know what? Maybe I was being an idiot. And kind of amusing. At least he's admitting his mistake. And yeah, Kupp turned out to be quite the baller, as LaFleur said. Now, Gennaro Felici of NFL.com he rated all the drafts, each team's draft, and he gave the Rams a C. And I was a little confused because he started out by saying they didn't start out with a lot of draft capital. Well, they started out with 8 picks. You start out with 7 at least before trading. Rams, between some moves and comp picks and all that stuff, they went into the draft with 8. And they ended up with 6. And remember, they got a first round pick from the Falcons next year. That alone should give them at least a B. So I was kind of confused by this grade, but there you have it. NFL.com's Gennaro Felici, I think I'm pronouncing that right, giving the Rams a C. And I was really surprised. I thought it would be at least a B. I completely understand if you want to maybe question some of the Rams selections, especially Terrence Ferguson in the second round there ahead of Elijah Arroyo. If you're going to go that route, sure. And maybe some of the later picks, go ahead and question them. But a C, surrendering that first round pick to get one next year, yeah, I didn't really see where he was coming from. And ESPN's power rankings, post-draft power rankings came out. I'm not going to go through the whole power rankings, but if you're watching on the YouTube channel, I highlighted the interesting takeaways. They had the Chiefs over the Eagles at number 1. And, I am not a proponent of handing the number 1 ranking to the defending champion. I think that's just lazy rankings, if you ask me. the old saying, hey, you got to beat the number one team to prove that you should be number one. That's just, in my opinion, silly. You look at the roster, you look at the results from last year, you look at the changes, players added, players lost. And, the Eagles pretty much manhandled the Chiefs last year, and the Chiefs have made some improvements, especially at wide receiver, but I do not see them surrendering the number one spot. And so I was kind of surprised by that. And then there was a run on NFC teams 6 through 9, the Commanders, Rams, Packers, and Vikings. I think they're being a little bit generous to the Commanders and the Vikings, in my opinion. And noteworthy, the 49ers came in at 15, the Seahawks at 16, and the Cardinals at 22. And the one thing that surprised me with these undrafted free agent signings and the draft, not the draft so much, but the undrafted free agent signings, is no camp arms, no camp legs either. And maybe that's still to come. However, the Rams did sign a wide receiver punt returner, Britton Covey. Now, he's not an undrafted guy. Well, originally undrafted, but he's been in the league a couple years. 5'8", 173 out of the University of Utah. And he was the NFL's punt return leader in 2023, actually, limited to 5 games in 2024, but did earn himself a Super Bowl ring there with the Eagles, though. And he is, by the way, an Eagle Scout, so another high character guy, apparently. And as a high school quarterback, Britton Covey, 26-0. So the Rams sign him. Now, I'm not calling him, just a camp guy to help with punt returns and special teams. I guess he has a shot at winning a job on this roster, but still surprised the Rams have not added a camp arm or a camp leg. Ethan Evans, Joshua Carty, and no quarterback beyond Stetson Bennett. Hey, the NFL schedule will be released in about a week, Wednesday, May 14th, and we'll be all over that. We'll have a show to talk about the schedule. And as a refresher, the Rams' home opponents, in addition to their divisional opponents, will be the Saints, Bucks, Lions, Texans, and Colts. Their away games, the Panthers, Falcons, Eagles, Jags, Titans, and Ravens, and again, in addition to their divisional opponents. And so, yes, that means that the extra game is an away game this year. 9 away games, 8 home games. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and predict that the Rams opener will be on the road, since they do have an extra road game. And I'm guessing it'll be one of those Southern teams. Well, most of their teams are Southern teams, non-divisional opponents. It'll probably be, my guess is the Jags, Titans, or Panthers. And I have to say, this Rams schedule release contest, kind of silly, virtually impossible. Maybe they should back off a little bit and have fans predict maybe their primetime games or the opener in the week 18 game. Picking the entire schedule, virtually impossible. Maybe make it a smaller prize, make it a contest that, hey, someone's got a chance to get it right. How about that? Give these fans a chance, Stan, whoever's coming up with this. Not a fan of this schedule contest they run each year. Now, what else I got here? New cornerback in town. So who was reporting this? NFL insider Josina Anderson. This is on Sporting News, saying that the Rams are in the running for the services of Jari Alexander, the great cornerback with the Packers, who could end up getting released, but they have him on the market. And then, of course, still talking about Jalen Ramsey coming to the Rams. Hang up there, I think, is how much of his salary the Dolphins are going to have to play. That's the word on the street anyways. Now, Scott Richmond talked about this a little bit, and I think I'm starting to lean in his direction as far as the thought process that, maybe it's a mistake to think of Jalen Ramsey as a CB1. He certainly would be a decent cornerback, probably an understatement. he'd be pretty darn good, but it'd be a mistake to think he's going to be an elite shutdown corner at this point. If we're bringing him in to play that star position, that might make more sense. Now, if you're looking for something close to a shutdown corner, Jari Alexander might be the better option at this point. But apparently, according to Josina, Steelers, 49ers, and Rams all in the hunt, all in the market for Jari Alexander's services. As far as Jalen Ramsey goes, I don't know that the Dolphins are talking to anyone else besides the Rams, but they probably are. And what else? No boom to the Ravens. And first of all, I wanted to mention that the calculations prior to this was the Rams would get a 7th round comp pick for all the movement that has occurred this season, this off season. Now, Noteboom going to the Ravens, not sure how that would affect the calculations. Potentially, maybe this would improve to a 6th round pick, maybe 2 7th rounders, maybe nothing at all. I'm not the comp wizard, and I'll leave that to someone else. But I have to say, right now, our backup tackles, that's probably the biggest thing I'm concerned about. McClendon, AJ Curry, and as someone pointed out on the YouTube channel, and they might be right, we should consider KT Leviston as a swing guy, possibly a tackle, possibly a guard. But we don't know anything about him. If really, at least I don't. And I would still be concerned if he was the guy the Rams are leaning on. But maybe the Rams know something we don't. Maybe they're really happy with his development, but he has not seen any NFL action. So how much can you trust him to get the job done? So who are our backup tackles? And then there's undrafted free agent Ben Dooley. He could factor in to the equation. But I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is, Harbaugh, the Ravens coach, going on and on about how happy he was to have a guy like Noteboom with the experience, 7 years with the Rams, can play all four, can play 4 of the 5 positions up front, and tons of experience. You could do a lot worse than Joseph Noteboom as a backup guy, and maybe Noteboom didn't want to come back to the Rams. Maybe the Rams are just ready to move on. I don't know, but if you were to ask me, who would I want as the next man up? AJ Curry, Warren McClendon, KT Leviston, Ben Dooley, or whoever. I might still pick Noteboom, maybe McClendon, but we kind of celebrate moving on from Joseph Noteboom, and I think maybe I'd prefer that he was still on this roster, I guess is what I'm getting at. But Joseph Noteboom over to the Ravens, and they're very happy to have him. And the Ravens generally know what they're doing. One of the best personnel departments in the National Football League, probably right there with the Rams. I think they might handle free agency, do better in free agency than the Rams, draft-wise, right there with the Rams, one of the better drafting teams in the National Football League. And there's been a lot of talk about what the Rams are going to do with this first round pick next year, and folks saying that, Arch Manning is a good chance he doesn't come out next year. So what are the Rams doing? Moving, accumulating picks, this first round pick next year when Arch Manning might not be there. But you know what? There's a bunch of other really good quarterbacks coming out like next year, including Clemson quarterback Cabe Klubnik, South Carolina quarterback Lenora Sellers, Penn State quarterback Drew Aller, all will likely be first-round picks at this time. And Jordan Reed of ESPN saying, maybe scratch Arch Manning off this list. But, I'd be pretty happy right now if the Rams were, let's say, be able to draft Garrett Nussmeier, and he's the son of the Saints offensive coordinator, by the way. Draft Garrett Nussmeier, and if it's the Falcons pick, let's say that's the 10th or 12th pick, maybe a little earlier, the Rams could hang on to their pick and draft an offensive tackle, and that's my dream scenario. And, who knows if that's going to happen, if that will really come to pass. where the Falcons end up picking, where the Rams end up picking, how much it's going to cost to move up and get the quarterback you want. But 2 points here. It's not all about Arch Manning necessarily, and the Rams are well positioned to draft a quarterback that's going to be take less draft capital to draft a guy like Newsmeyer and still hang on to another pick late in the first round and go get an offensive tackle, which right now I would think that would be a need next year, right? Unless something happens between now and the start of this season that we didn't see coming. But Nussmeier and an offensive lineman, are they going to wait till another year and then go after Arch Manning? I suppose that's a possibility. Take these 2 first-round picks and trade out and add a pick. Position yourself in the 2027 draft, but then you're back into that playing chicken with Matthew Stafford about what he's going to do. You draft the quarterback next year, kind of puts that to rest. And I think that's what the Rams are doing. If Arch Manning comes out, great, make a run at him. And we don't know much about Arch Manning. He's probably going to be a very, very good NFL quarterback, and he's going to be much more athletic than his uncles and I shouldn't say more athletic than his grandfather, but he's going to be a guy that can, extend plays, run the ball a little bit, and the great arm. But we haven't seen enough of it really, even at the college level, to know that, hey, he's going to be the first pick in the 2026 or 2027 NFL draft. Very likely will come to pass. But right now, if you had to, would you make that commitment right now? Would you make that declaration 100%? That's the case, that he's going to be better than Norris or Klubnik or Newsmeyer? I'm not so sure. So you go get your quarterback next year. If it's not Arch Manning, so be it. The NFL, there's going to be more than one great NFL quarterback coming out of college in the next couple of years. And if the Rams end up with someone other than Arch Manning, not the end of the world. Let's ride with Newsmeyer. That could be what happens. That's all I got this segment. Next week, we'll come back with our schedule show, and Ian's going to be on board talking about some of these undrafted free agents a little bit more. A lot coming at you over the next week or so. The excitement never ends here, and if you're a Rams fan, got to the draft, got to the undrafted free agents at least partly, and now the schedule show coming up. That's going to be a lot of fun, and then on to the camps, preseason, lots of good stuff. It's going to be an exciting summer, and the Rams are rocking to the Super Bowl. It's going to be a lot of fun. Out here from Rams Up.